Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ascension sessions. I'm Cherie Ariano, your host, and I'm so excited. I have a great show for you today. I'm here with Viviane Chauvet. She's a spiritual healer. She's a teacher. She's a speaker, and she's also known as an Arcturian hybrid. And today we're going to be speaking about ascension, spirituality, contact, all sorts of really interesting topics. And so I'm going to just jump right in. I'm excited for you to meet her. So thank you, Viviane, so much for being here on the show today.
Well, thank you, Cherie, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And of course, on behalf of the collective and I, we're very happy to contribute and spend time with each other.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm glad that everyone is here today.
Yes, always.
With you.
Always.
So we had the pleasure of meeting this weekend here in San Francisco at the US UFO Con. And when I met you, I knew immediately I wanted to have you on the show. And, it's been really nice getting to know you over the past few days. And so I'm so excited to, share you with our audience as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. It really is really a blessing of sharing the space.
Yes.
Here at San Francisco for this beautiful UFO Con 2020. And plus being in this vendor space, our table being very close to one another.
Yes.
The interaction and all the sharing we've been doing over the weekend, it's really, you can tell that synchronicity working at its best.
Absolutely.
Brought together in a perfect junction. And I remember the first time, even prior to the conference, when you sent me an email.
Mm-hmm.
One of my team says, yes, you're doing this.
Oh, awesome.
Family was already, I can feel like a flow of energy, felt, especially around your heart center. And I'm like, okay, we'll do this. And meeting you just sealed the deal. Like, oh yeah, we're such in resonance.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So can you share with us a little bit today about like where you're from and, what your childhood was like and we can just start with those basic
of course
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the establishing your background. So like your introduction, and thank you for that. What's called an Arcturian hybrid. And so in our way, a hybrid means that my mother is human and my biological father is Arcturian. And so the genetic blend of two worlds, two civilizations very different from each other, blending to create a child. Myself, I'm the experience. So it's been very interesting to evolve physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually on the earth at the stage of where we are really rising in consciousness to a place where we call the re-ascension. We know that we have done this many times before. It's just at this point in time in that cycle, even when the earth is, we are truly ready to lift ourselves up, return to our celestial origins, return to identifying to who we are more at the soul spirit level, rather just the physical level. And so growing up, for me, grew up in the 80s, the collective was not there. The word hybrid was not even non-existing.
Sure.
Even just the word soul star seed is not something you were talked about.
Right.
ET Connection was reserved for either sci-fi movie or more like very exclusive little conference here and there for people who had group to talk about it. So it was very much more of a taboo, if I can say.
Right.
The planet was, not the planet itself, but more human consciousness was in a very different state. And so it was very challenging. So think of it as the opposite of the pendulum effect. Today people are attracted to me. Back then they were like pulling away from me. So I see the pendulum swinging, in different ways. And it was very fascinating to observe how much people have changed their values, turning from something that was a big taboo, you would not even talk about it, was not accepted, to more going, oh, okay, I think there's something there, there's peak of awareness, a little breakthrough here and there. And today is like, I need it. I need to embrace it. There's something there for me. There's something there that I need to incorporate to even understand a fuller picture of myself. So I have witnessed how things have been moving. So growing up, it was difficult.
Yeah, and you were raised in Quebec, right? In Canada?
Yeah, I was raised in Montreal, Quebec. Mm-hmm. So from the human aspect, I'm French Canadian. Mm-hmm. So
was Canada slightly more advanced, maybe, than America back then in terms of these spiritual topics and what we call fringe topics? Or do you feel like they were kind of in step with the rest of the world and their thinking?
I see where you're coming from with this. So why choosing Canada as a point of ascension for me to come through? It's because it was very quiet. Mm-hmm. It was very more like, social type, very quiet. So it helped me to be behind the scene, below the radar, so to speak.
Okay.
So, like, for example, I mentioned that before in other interviews that have been exhaustively studied medically. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, medical expert of all kind that came across me and studied me and then, had all kind of testing done, they were not looking at me from a perspective of, are we having here a possibility of a hybrid product?
Yeah.
Or is there any, ET intervention that we can look into and do our research in that direction? Mm-hmm. It was more to a pure 3D medical standpoint.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with her. There's something abnormal about her compared to our family tree line. So how can we do something to fix that? Mm-hmm. It was very much in that point. Right. And I remember even at 5 years old, when I was a little child, I was looking at those adults with, medical white gown and instrument around their neck, and the way they were talking about me, I could feel that the logic was not sound. It was not logical.
Right.
Because I understood. Mm-hmm. I can feel from the inside my ET self going, they're looking about this just from
the third dimension.
Yeah, a third density perspective, a medical science-based point of view. Mm-hmm. And so they will try to fit me in their book, the medical research. Mm-hmm. So they come with a very long label.
With their limited knowledge.
Right, from what they could understand based on their state of consciousness, mm-hmm. their structure, their mind frame. It's always 3D research, medical.
Sure.
And that medical research that the only logical explanation, it's that term, that long Latin term they came up with. Here, this is your term. We're going to put it on your label, on you as a label, but that label had consequences. Mm. And one of the consequences was that children born under that label would not survive past the age of 12, 13, or 14 if they're lucky.
Oh, wow. Do you care to share what that label was?
Yes, if I remember. I think it's called osteogenesis imperfecta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So like a bone thing?
Yeah, it said that's something about malfunctioning, or not malfunctioning, but a defect in the bone structure. Mm-hmm. And then so it creates very frail and breakable bones, lack of density, and then the skeleton structures will be strong enough, and then eventually apparently children born under that label, I call it label, mm-hmm. to keep it high positive energy, have a much, much shorter span of life, and there's many other consequences to it.
Well, obviously they were wrong with this label.
Yeah, and another thing it said is that apparently the eyes will have kind of a bluish, the white of the eyes will have kind of a bluish color to it, which mm-hmm. were never cased. My eyes were never that. Mm-hmm. And so they don't understand, like, okay, doesn't fit, but it's fit. What can we do? So we'll put it in that box.
So when did you know that you were different as a child? Do you remember how old you were?
Yes, 4, maybe 5, if not before. Mm-hmm. But I have very clear recollection by 5 years old. It's my outlook. It's the way I was thinking. I was already having these thoughts, first perception, to look around me and feel like I don't understand why it's functioning this way. Mm-hmm. Why does this chord? Why those children are fine with each other? I did not understand the paradigm around me. It did not make sense.
Could you tell, for example, if an adult was not telling the truth, or they were, dishonest in some way, like if their field was different than what the words were saying? Could you read people at that age?
Oh yeah, I remember even in school, even in kindergarten or first grade,
Mm-hmm.
I would analyze the adults around me. And I can tell for those who came in, they were either coming out of, they were tired, they were angry, or they were just, programmed or anything that was going on. I would look at them and I have all this dissertation in my mind, and I'm like, I know I have, and I understood that as a child, you don't have much of a voice. You cannot really say anything because, especially back then, we're like, well, you're kids, what do you know?
Right.
And so, especially with doctors, I developed a keen way of speaking my mind, so they would come to me. So, we're going to do this testing today, and then your uncle will take care of you, and we have your hand there, and nurse. And I look at them in the eyes, it's like, you're not my uncle, you're not my hand.
Right.
It's like, I know exactly who my family members are, and I would cite the names of everyone in my family, like, you're not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they would look at me like, oh, you're feisty. I'm not feisty. I'm observing.
Right.
And I'm assessing something that is based on a truth. And you're approaching me in an infantile way to try to disguise a test that would be painful, trying to think it's a play. It's not.
Right.
And I would dismantle the whole thing.
Wow.
It was really something.
So did you spend a large part of your youth visiting doctors? Like, for how long did that go on?
12, 13 years.
Oh, wow. Until you were about 13.
Yeah, and then I went into a strike. I told my mother at 13. I said, it is pointless to continue. Obviously, they cannot do anything for me. There's nothing wrong about me. It's just the way I am. This is my own standard. And we have to evolve. I'm going to continue to be healthy and evolve according to my own standard. And she said, so be it. I respect that. And then we disconnected completely from it. Then in my early 20s, I went back one more time. And then my team intervened, and I got kicked out of the office.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the doctor kicked me out because, they said, sorry, but there's nothing we can do. You don't fit in anything. Because we don't even know where to begin. But just to tell you how much they were oblivious in terms that the mindset was very prone to science research in that place. So it was the perfect ground for me to be able to evolve without having the possibility of saying, okay, we're going to take her, put it somewhere and do more extensive testing that would not have been serving my highest and best.
What were the things that they were trying to fix? In other words, what did your mother say to the doctor as a complaint? Like, Viviane is different, or this, she's sick, or what were they trying to solve?
That's a good question. It's not about in terms of complaint. It's about that obviously there was something profoundly different. Just, for example, the way I was behaving, I was not as energetic. I would not have such an equilibrium. I didn't have much motricity back then. Holding a pair of scissors was quite a challenge for me.
Okay.
I was not responding in a way that you would categorize what a normal child would go through phases.
Were you more serious? More mature?
More mature, but smiling. My mom always says, you were like just in a state, I'm like in a state of presence. Which is, I knew that my physical form at the time was not developed enough to support me to be very much engaged physically, like playing, grabbing, crawling, and then moving on to walking, in which eventually I did, but much later on. And then once that's done, no physical sport, no physical contact. It was more like, I would just be there and smiling and be in a state of consciousness, if you want. It's what we call a state of presence.
Right.
It's more like when I was radiating rather than the interaction from the physical. And then eventually my body started to develop, but it took many, many years. It took me a long time.
Yeah, because they have markers for children that they want you to meet. And if you don't meet those markers, then something's wrong.
There's already an X factor.
Sure.
So imagining that, plus not able to explain why her motricity is out, where is the lack of, muscular structure and so forth, where her lungs are underdeveloped, and then trying to identify through the markers to the tree line. You look at my human parents, father, mother, but there's no one to identify in the tree line. So where is the Where's the X factor in it?
Sure.
That never crossed our mind because it was not designed for this.
And did they eventually do DNA testing?
Oh, they did so much testing.
Did they find, like, were they able to go beyond? Because I feel like in DNA testing, they are limited even there in their their understanding of our DNA is. So did they find anything that was helpful?
It's a blend of everything. And you're right on by saying that, even especially back then, if you look, we're talking about the early 80s.
Sure.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So not only the DNA testing was limiting to what they could understand and comprehend, what was accepted, junk DNA was there like, would dismiss it. If there's extra chromosome, oh well, she's just a phenomenal nature.
Right.
Nothing to be concerned about, no big Nobel Prize there, right? Plus, you have to think about that my star family, my collective, as I call them, was also influencing. Like, even though you can do DNA testing and have all the results in front of you, then the suggestion would be you only see what's normal, disregard the rest. Because the only thing they said is, she's not here for that. She's not here to be a lab test. She's not here to be put in a facility or underground base to be studied. This is not the purpose of our presence.
Right.
So you have to think about it. I'm coming also with a lot of support protection that will redirect. I'm going to give you an example of this. So many years later, when I moved from Montreal to Arizona, I became what's called a theta healing practitioner. And my teacher, one of the exercises that you, through your third eye, you scan the body and you do exercise to detect, and then you do the theta healing. And my teacher would go, this is weird. I'm not able to have a good scan. I can only see a portion of you. The other part is like, all I see is a big red bow. Like a gift when you put your bow on it.
That's funny.
It's funny, right?
Yeah.
And I giggle and I say, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lynn. Her name was Lynn. Father, Mark turned father. They're not allowing you to see everything. They're just going to let you see what you need for the exercise. She was like, that's different. And eventually she got used to it, and then we get to know her and then be in sync with her, and then the collective eventually agreed, but she was not able to see everything.
Right.
And so there's a portion of me that you can do all the testing you want. You're not going to find what you really want to see.
Right.
Because your 3D equipment will not pick up on it anyway.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Is it not?
Yeah.
That's beyond this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how do we test for, Arcturian DNA? We don't even believe in it,
Precisely what you're going to look for. And even if it's in front of you, you need to have the consciousness to be able to back up your technology. It's called technology assisted by consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's something overall on the planet that's not there yet. And there's good reason for that.
Right.
So that's beyond the point.
So earlier I think you started to answer one of my questions, which is, how would you define ascension? And you were talking about the reascension. So can you talk a little bit more about the ascension that we're going through right now and how you define it?
Oh yes, that's a really big one going on, especially this year 2020, moving into 2021. And we are in 2022, and we are in a corridor, what we call a corridor of light accelerations, where if you look at the phenomenon everywhere, every nation's on this planet, there's a major wave of conscious awakening. And what we call awakening is that you can see like, it's almost like peak of light lit up on the grid. More and more, the grid is lighting up. And so what I mean is that people are starting to ask deeper questions.
Sure.
People are needed deeper answers, deeper directions, guidance, understanding of themselves, but not just from a persona of what was dictated to them as approved, not approved, acceptable, non acceptable. More and more we're defining even the paradigm in which we're living in, making different choices, and we choose differently. We're using our free will to utilize our power to be able to redirect where we're going to select what you put your power to. Where are your thoughts on? How do you invest your energy your light, your presence. So we call it a reascension because there's so many masters incarnated, old souls, if you want, on the planet. There's so many starseeds. There's different level of hybrid also on the planet or off planet. But if you look at the human civilizations in the midst of an important evolution, is that we are coming back from a deep, deep sleep, so to speak, and we say, wait a minute, I'm celestial, you're celestial, you have the entire universe within you, and so have I, and so how we reflect in the synergy that my interaction with you is affecting you and vice versa. So it's affecting also all life form, all sentient life form, trees, minerals, how the food grows, how the air, the water, everyone, everything on the planet.
Yeah.
So you start to be more conscious. Hey, I need to do my part because whatever I say, do, even though I'm one individual, it makes a huge difference.
Right.
Even though you are being convinced otherwise, and that's why an attempt to keep the same loop over and over.
Yeah.
But so we're dismantling that. We are changing, shifting collectively and individually the way our perception is. So we're creating really powerful shifts on the planet that create different ripple effects, that create different responses, that create different waves of energy that in turn also affect how even the planet changes. We're getting more attuned with the rhythmic pulse of nature, the natural cycle on the planet, without creating those paradigms of fear all the time.
Right.
Oh, there's a change on the planet. Oh my God, what is the cause of it? Of course, turn on the TV, look on YouTube, and you're going to have plenty of response to keep you in a fear-based paradigm, right?
Sure.
So reascension is something, we call it a reascension because we've done this before. And based on how many old souls are currently in physical form on the planet, you've already ascended, but you're doing it again. It's like telling you, your memory is going to be wiped, so to speak, and you go back to kindergarten. You've already had your PhD, but you're going back to kindergarten. You're going to learn to read ABC, 1, 2, 3, and moving up the scale, right? It's something very similar. And so this is why we call it a reascension, because it's already been done.
Right.
If you look at how many cycles the Earth has gone through already, we heard about a 26,000 year cycle that the Earth have reached. And what does it mean? And we go like, oh my God, we go into Armageddon scenarios and fear and all of it. How many times did she did that? And life has continued.
26,000 years is nothing.
Precisely.
For her. Yeah,
for the Earth.
For the Earth.
But at the same time, if you look at the evolution, you look at the markers to the true history, all the markers, yes, we need to adapt, we need to adjust. And that's precisely the point where we are at that point at the junction where we are right now.
Yeah. Why are the Arcturians here to help us go through this ascension?
No, yes, definitely. Arcturian is an example of it.
And why do they care about humans and Earth?
Well, what if I tell you just because we care? Would that be enough as an answer? That's my intent, to bring some humor. So I promise my team I've been working on my humor.
Okay.
Well, let's go back and this is very important. So we are receiving here on this Earth so many beautiful level of deep assistance. Arcturians being an example of it, and we're one of them. If you look at any very enlightened ascended civilizations like the Arcturians or the Andromedans, the high council of Syrians are really much engaged into the process. Is that, think of it as that we are all part of the same multiverse. We are part of the same unified field of consciousness. This Earth, with the entire life forms that she contains, has a ripple effect throughout other worlds. There are other planets that are also in the same state of 3D or third density on the verge to ascend. And so everybody, if you accept the fact that you are part of a great ecosystem or synergy, like a pond whose ecosystem is affected, that what you do is very important. And the human race are very important beings. Very, very important. Then that's why we call you like giants of light. You're an amazing being with a potential that is phenomenal just look at harvesting, so to speak, the power of your emotional center. You produce so much energy, you can lit up your entire planet if you want. You don't need a trickle pole and electricity company. You can do it just through your emotional field. It's phenomenal, the energy. But then you've been boxed up in a box like this, and you said, oh, there's all there is to you. And we go, oh, no, there's not. Let's get you out of the box, giants, and go back to your space. And then you can, uplift and change. You can change your life for beginning with, change also the life of others, uplift the consciousness on the planet, and help the planet to shift as well. It's all interconnecting. So of course we're here to assist. That's what we do. Arcturians are they're masters at what they do.
Yeah.
They're very old civilizations. They understood from past, long time ago, past mistake, the value, how precious a planet is, how precious an entire civilization is. And so they have learned, they became those masters. They understand what is at stake. They also understand what is the counterpart, the influence, this state of constant conflict, and also, how do you call it? I forgot the word I'm asking them. The yin and the yang effect.
The balance, harmony.
The balance, yeah. The polarity, light, dark, light. The sense of constant pulling in the terms, like to bring harmony to that.
Yes.
What's called universal peace. Right?
Is there planet or star system in universal harmony and peace? Like, have they achieved that, or are they also on an ascension path?
Who?
The Arcturians.
Oh, we have already ascended. We've already reached that state.
Okay.
Yes, we have. Long time ago.
And so then the next question would be, if everything is connected in the multiverse, and the Earth and our solar system's ascension will ripple out into the rest of the cosmos, will our ascension affect the Arcturians and the Andromedans and all of the other, star systems that have already gone through ascension? Like, will it ripple out that far? And is that part of the reason they're interested in helping us?
It's not part of the reason why they're interesting. It's not about the ripple effect they will have on us. It's more how it affects you now. It's more how, an entire civilization has been under the grip of many different influences, manipulated. You mean just look at the gene pool, how much there's been so many, manipulations over and over.
Yeah.
One thing we have understood is that we cannot interfere in the evolution of a planet or the evolution of a civilization. We can assist, but tampering with life has consequences. And so this is something that the Arcturian throughout their history have learned. And so we're very mindful onto what kind of assistance we're providing. Where I think of it as a Zen master, very powerful, very potent, but at the same time, we cannot interfere in your free will, cannot interfere in a state that if a soul has some karmic ties or implication needs to go through, then those needs to go through and then be learned and completed. Nonetheless, the assistance can still be provided in the ways that it creates a non-interference. But you can imagine that kind of assistance, which is very evolved, has been of no interest to those who put in power here, what you call the structure of government.
Right.
Because there's been intervention, there's been offering of helping in that sense from more of a, you call it spiritual, we call it more in an evolved way, but a non-technology, more like in that sense of allowing you to raise in consciousness and helping you to teach you, to help you, to guide you, and giving you the learning ways so you can achieve this.
Yeah.
And we were told, no, not interested. So we redirected our focus more on the population, people. Those we have on the planet, our star seeds, our people are already on the planet, the different channels, authors, teachers that have been point of contactees, point of interactions, and it's more through the mass consciousness that we are providing assistance.
Yeah. So have you connected with other Arcturian starseeds? Like, can you recognize them?
Yes, I have encountered other Arcturian starseeds. And so far from what we have encountered, we noticed that it is extremely difficult for our people to adapt here. So that very after time they develop a lot of physical issues. Their body is difficult not to comply. They have, some addictions. Some people have, some of them had some, different level of addictions. Or because of the 3D density, it's so different, it's so heavy that it's difficult to maintain a higher level of conduit, higher level of connections. So I noticed that it's very, very challenging for an Arcturian starseed. From the experience I had for those I've encountered face to face, it's very challenging.
Wow, that's interesting.
Well, you come from a race who ascended in a pure state, and then you come here in incarnation, duality, that's the word I was looking at.
It's like punishment.
Well, we chose it.
Do they believe that there are other humans on other planets that have ascended? Like, the multiverse is enormous, right?
Yes, very diverse.
It's not unlikely to believe that there are humans on other planets.
No, they are.
Who've gone through this. Are there any planets that you know of where they have already ascended? More evolved humans, I guess, is the question.
Okay, because we felt it was like a 2 layers to your question. So are there other human beings evolving on the planet that reach a higher level of achievement? The answer is yes. They are. You will still call them ETs by definition, right? But they are human beings. They have evolved on a different plane, a different planetary system, and so they have reached.
Yeah. So you've seen what a fully evolved human looks like.
Well, we are, by definition, we have, because if you look at an Arcturian, what is Arcturian we do, as not only as master teacher and bring assistance, we're holding a space to you in terms of, we are a self-representation of your future self. We're showing you what you can achieve, not physically, not necessarily on the physical level, but what you can achieve in terms of evolutions. Now you're upgrading into what it means. You're redefining what it means to be a human being. After time, if you look at, they say, oh, it's okay, it's human to make error, to make mistake. We're only humans. All those terms that we go like, I remember as a child, even teenager, like, what are you talking about? We're only humans.
Right.
It's okay to make mistake because you're a human. And to us, I always felt very degrading. And I'm like, no. It's mistake is a learning curve that any being can make depending on what they need to learn. But it's not because you're human.
Right.
Or you're only human, so it's okay.
That's a really good point to bring up. Yeah, I've never thought about that. But that we have so many terms and phrases in our English language that people just, take for granted, and they don't really stop to think about what they're saying. And I believe in the power of the voice, the power of your intentions. And so when you say things like that, it really has an impact on our consciousness.
It really does, because it programs you. And it reinforces a program has already been there and put in place. Whether by the outdated educational system, the indoctrination, all of it, it's been put in place to go to believe, oh yes, it's almost like a punishment. I'm only humans.
Right.
What does it really mean to be only human? And it only means that I want you to believe that you don't have much power. Listen to
You're
me.
less than.
Yes. Listen to us. Hear the structures. We'll guide you. We know what will define for you how your body heal. We'll define for you what kind of chain of food you need to eat. And we're going to redefine for you what medication or supplement you need to take.
Right.
That's complete control.
And it also separates us from God or the source or creator, right? Because God is perfect in all that is, and we're just humans. So we're not part of that greatness.
Exactly. I love that. Brilliant. It's just connect you, which reinforce the paradigm of separation and illusions.
Exactly.
This is something that we're very passionate to heal. That's a great wound. and it's very falsely rooted in terms of control, separation, disconnecting your heart center.
Right.
That you, sources out there, I don't know if I'm worthy. And I'm like, your own existence, prove it. It's not your form, it's who you are here.
Do you consider yourself a channeler?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Am I speaking with the Arcturian Council right now?
That's a great question. So I am what's called a conscious blended channel. And there's many words. We don't fancy or utilizing very, wow words. It's not important. It's more the message, the content, the essence that we're sending out. So if you pay attention, and you will observe that and move from I to we back to I. After time I speak as we feel that, we think that.
Right.
So it's a blend. So this is part of the reason why physically I am built the way I am. It's to think of it as an antenna that is constantly open 24/7. Okay. And then the receiving part is always there. There's a transmission and a receiving part.
Right.
So to answer your question, the answer is yes, and all of the above. It's a blend of what they put thought forms, and it comes out to translated as English words.
Right. What a gift.
Thank you.
What a blessing.
Yes, it does. It's part of the blessing I have accepted in that sense. You're right about that, Shelley.
Well, it must be nice to feel like you're never alone and you always have a connection to your higher selves, so that you can, make the best decisions for you and the work that you're trying to spread and achieve here on this planet.
Absolutely, you're right. It really is. And it helped me even in the everyday life. Sometimes I make
Should I wear blue? Should I wear black?
Yeah, like when I came for the conference, I look at my wardrobe, I'm like, okay, this is very 3D. I think it's wonderful. I am my own Barbie. I can dress myself. It's fascinating. I got hair. So what can I do? And they go like this, and this color, and they're going to do this.
Yeah.
And they're going to show me to my third eye combination, and I can feel that. And sometimes they let me do my own things. And then I go back, I'm like, it didn't feel as, I don't know, I didn't feel as balanced. And they said, so what have you learned? What have you learned?
Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, that's because you were studying. You were on the field to study and assess.
To study?
Yeah, to study and assess. I'm like, okay, now I understand. But yeah, it's a constant feed in terms of, and that's one thing, even as a child, this is why I was having a hard time adapting, is that I am used to live, to think, to feel within a collective.
Right.
We understand and respect the individual expression of the person. The soul as an expression is very unique, very sacred. It is also within the collective.
Right.
And as such, within the collective, it has a different impact. It has a different approach, even the way we feel. We understand that we all part together and we have an impact on each other. And collectively, we can create phenomenal situation and creation.
Right. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about your physical contact with your starseed family, because you mentioned the other day that you do occasionally have the opportunity to go back home to the Arcturus, is that the correct pronunciation? Star system.
The star Arcturus.
Yes. So have you been on a ship? A physical ship, or is it more of like your consciousness goes?
There's 3 layers to your question.
Yes.
So let's go back to the first one.
Thank you for tracking my questions.
Oh, we do. Believe me, I have a whole team that is showing 3 layers. Yeah. Let's go back. Do I go back to the star Arcturus, and then there's our blue crystal planet? Yes. Do I remember? They won't let me remember the planet. Because if I remember home too much, I would probably
not want to come back.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to weep and beg to say, Earth, kiss, I'm going home. Because it's just the discrepancy is so high. And I use the word discrepancy in a way that we can relate to.
Yes.
It's just the shock. The cultural shock is too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I just drop you in the middle of in the Amazon forest, you're going to go, I want to go back home. It's beautiful. Thank you. Very charming. Now let me go back home.
Right.
The shock is too much.
Yes.
In that sense. So when I go back there, do they let me remember that portion? And not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I've been negotiating with them with that.
Okay.
It's coming though.
Mm-hmm. Now,
that's the first layer. Second layer is that do I go back on our ship? Yes, I need to. So I go back on my father's ship. Mm-hmm. We have a mothership. And I go back there so they can help me. They help my body to regenerate. They help me also balance, heal my soul, release some trauma from 3D that we bring from the earth plane. Mm-hmm. But help me to recalibrate if you want.
So they allow you to go on the mothership.
On my father's ship, which is
a mothership. Right. I just wanted to clarify that because it might be confusing for some people. Okay. Is the mothership like hovering outside of the earth, or do you go all the way back to Arcturus?
No, it's not the way you think. It's not A or Z. They're not hovering directly over the planet. Although we can and no one will detect us.
Sure.
A little bit further away if you want, but in proximity.
To the Earth? Or
yes.
to your star planet? To the Earth. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, if I'm here, they're going to be in proximity. When I leave the planet, they will go. They're not going to leave me behind. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to go back to Arcturus and go back here. They can. We have the technology, but they stay put. They stay close.
Okay, so the mothership that's nearby, which is your father's ship,
yes,
is nearby, yes. And it stays there.
Oh yes.
Okay, it doesn't go back and forth to Arcturus.
Well, we can deploy other aspect of the fleet, and it's another story. Mm-hmm. But it comes off right to your question. Why do I go back to my father's ship? This one stay.
Yeah.
Yes, in proximity.
Does your father have other hybrid children that are here on the planet that are doing similar missions as yours?
That I'm aware of, no.
You're the only one.
And the way we have pushed the envelope, yes. We have understood that it's a very noble cause, but it requires a lot of care. It require a lot of coordination. Mm-hmm. And it's also very not costly, but it's a paramount project, and it might not be the best effective way to do what we need to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm here and I will continue, but they understood that they have perfected, if you want to refine, how they can bring ground crew in a way that it can be easier for them to navigate and be functioning here. Mm-hmm. You know, if I want to send you on a mission on a terrain that has a very different ecosystem, I'll equip you to make sure you succeed without taxing yourself too much. Right. It's just an image, but something like that.
So is your soul like half Arcturian, half human, or is it all Arcturian in a human body? Like how do they work together?
Well, there's a distinction between your spirit and the soul. Your soul is infinite, we come from source, all of us.
Sure.
You know, when you're embodying an emanation from another star system, that's another thing. So an emanation of me or a spark of me came from Arcturus and embodied in that form that you know me and now as. Mm-hmm. But my soul, like yours and anybody in the multiverse, we all come from Creator, and we are
right.
Internal, infinite intelligence of the source.
Right. So that's why it's confusing for me, because it's like, well, where is the Arcturian DNA? It is in the physical. Is it in the spirit? Is it, in the holographic projection? Is it just around you as these beings support you? I know it's my human mind, trying to
you
fit you in a thing. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you conceptualize things. So you're thinking words that we're saying. Right. And you conceptualize, but you're confusing soul for spirit for DNA. The DNA has nothing to do with the spirit. Right. I can exist without having a spirit, a DNA. I can exist without having a body. Mm-hmm. So let's keep it simple to understand it's like looking at a crystal, and a shard of the crystal will take embodiment, and eventually that shard go back to the crystal. It's still a crystal, but that shard may have another identity, will have another form of experience. It's more in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that portion of me, that spark of life within me, this one is more ET, if you want to call it this way, because this one comes from Arcturus. But my soul, my infinite part of me, like yours or anybody on the planet, when people ask me, who am I? We'll say, you are an infinite expression of Source.
Right.
That's going to be our first answer.
Mm-hmm.
Then from that, you went through different journey to the multiverse. You can be an embodiment as a fairy, you can have been an elemental, you could have been a many different star system. Sirian, Orions, Andromedan, Arcturians, Pleiadians, name them, even those we don't know by name.
Yeah.
You could have been formless for many times and then you came back in incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
That's that expression of you moving around. But your soul is still perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Is it clearer this way?
Yes, thank you for sharing.
You're most welcome. I know it can be confusing. We understand.
Yeah.
We do.
So do the Arcturians have a message for humanity? If there was one thing you wanted to share with many people watching this video today, what would it be?
That's a beautiful question, and thank you so much. We understand our presence really move you, help you pass through what you used to. We're redefining the way you think, we're redefining the way things feel. So we understand that our presence is very takes space.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the messages we have at this point is it's very important for you, for all of us on the planet, you need to connect with one another and to move away from distractions and ask yourself at this point, what do I want to achieve with this time, what's called your lifetime? What do you want to achieve in your lifetime that will create a positive change for you in accomplishing your soul fulfillment, accomplishing your soul destiny, and also the uplifting of everyone in all life form? Do you bring reference to life? Do you honor the planet? Do you honor yourself? And the key element, and they show me a golden key right now. The key element is you need to unlock the door, so to speak, within you and ask that spark of life, and let's call it your spark of life within your spirit. As that spark of life within you, allow me to remember the multitude and full spectrum of who I am, beyond this, my human expression, beyond this life. I know my name is, I grew up here, this is where I believe it, because I was taught by what's more than that.
Right.
Defy, ask questions, investigate, feel. And investigating is not necessarily to look at books that's been written out there or looking on the YouTubes and all of it. And there's noble aspect to it as well. There's great aspect. But you need to use a higher level of discernment to extract what is really seed of knowledge that helps you to serve your highest and best, to help you grow, go beyond what you think your limitations, your box, your structure, belief systems are, helps you also blossom, help you to connect or return to your, a higher level of identity that is within you. The expression, we hear word like transhuman and all those fancy words, but very much so is you are the giant, you are the master, you are the teacher, you are within your whole soul, within the journey of your soul. Can you imagine how much you can teach your own self? And oftentimes, what's the first thing that we teach children is listen to a source around you, disconnect from yourself, leave behind your imaginary friend, shut down your imagination because it's just pure fantasy.
Right.
Leave the fairies alone and listen to what is out there. We're going to teach you that the program is, first thing we do is disconnect from your heart center, so to speak. We move you away from you and distract you here. Yeah. And this is how we grow. It might sound very simple, redundant, and that's the point. With simplicity and redundancy, we create new imprint. And it's going to start to create new pattern. And then it's going to start to also create new, more natural behavior, no natural way of thinking. It becomes accepted. It becomes natural. So what we do is we're creating a natural imprint. without forcing, without imposing, but through redundancy.
Right.
We bring it out there in different ways, different formats, different shape. But ultimately, it's that reinforcement. Is it not the same way then a belief system is imposed upon you? By reinforcement. So what we're helping you is called create a reversal thought system to bring you back to your essentials.
Right. Deprogramming.
If you want to call it this way, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we've been taught to look outside of ourselves for everything.
Absolutely.
Right? We're always giving away our power.
Constantly.
Validation, education, medicine, food, like you mentioned, even religion, what to believe in, what our faith should be. And that's huge. Like every aspect of our lives is being manipulated and controlled. So I agree with you. I think it's all about going back inside and going within and looking to yourself for the answers.
Exactly. You know, like think of yourself as the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Great Pyramids of Egypt. We're so eager to decode what the structure means, where it comes from, where is the reason behind it, what mystery or knowledge can it teach us. But that's great. Or you are greater than the Pyramid of Giza. Why don't you decode yourself? Right?
Yeah.
You are a great mystery and absolutely a miracle, a wonder of nature. So start to look at yourself this way to go like, well, I'm just myself. Great, you are humble. But make sure you're humble within your master. Like a master Zen, if you look at any great culture on the planet, all the great masters, teachers, they are very centered with themselves. They can be humble and they will teach you and they will be there to, accept you without creating a label on you or judgment. At the same time, they hold the space and they will know that that seed of potential within you, it's going to grow in something a lot more bigger. It's the same infinite intelligence that create supernova, create galaxies, create this holographic multiverses. Well, that same infinite intelligence is in you, with you, and operating as you.
Right.
You go like, wow, what does that have to do with a supernova? Everything. You're part of the same energy.
Right.
But you see where we're going to is it's really the urgency to go back in that space. It's very much so. And then if you look people, their lives feel like there's a lack of fulfillment. We're going back into more of soul fulfillment. Whereas your heart is creating that spark of life, that spark of passion that ignite in you. And then that's what already your life create miracles, create changes. Yeah. Because what you do is that you attracting experiences that will magnetize according to that frequency instead of going on the same maker, the same template that and it seems like it's producing same results. You are moving beyond this.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I don't usually ask this question, but my guides are telling me to ask this question. What role do the animals have for us here on this earth?
Oh, they're blessed. We adore animals. Bless them. I have 2 cats at home, and they're 2 masters. Every time I do a reading, a consultation, a healing, they're like 2 balls around me, and they stay there. They hold the space with me. So animals are sentient beings. They feel, they have a soul. Yes, they do have the same divine spark in them. They evolve in different dimensions. Yes. They are great teachers. They come as guardians. They come as to selflessness, to teach us selflessness, unconditional love, to be by our side, to help to also balance the ecosystem. There are multiple functions of what they're here for. They're amazing. And different consciousness. If you look at felines, for example, house cats, all the felines on the planet, they take on this role, and they have this body as, oh, I have a house cat. What do? They lick themselves and play with mouse all day. No, that's why they play the role as. But their soul, felines are Syrian energy.
Right.
And so I remember a few years ago, there was a huge feline portal that just opened up in the proximity of the earth, and there was many feline who left the earth. And one of my beloved one, my grizzly, left that year. And he just told me that his mission as a house cat, my house cat, was completed, and he was returning to his original form, and he will continue in that sense. You know, and he's in his original form, he's a huge lion. He was just my house cat. So animals are very sacred, just like you are, and they're here to walk with us, to guide us, to assist us, to give us comfort.
Yeah.
They're great teachers if you look at them.
And they're sacrificing themselves too, in a way, aren't they? To be here, to teach us.
To teach us, and I know that through a program, you know, the human beings have been believed to say, oh, you need to eat meat. You need to have a consumption of different meat. And then they change their research. Oh, no, you don't need meat anymore. You need this. And then they go back to, oh, if you want to lose weight, only eat meat. It's leaner. It's protein. You create muscle power. And there's been so many manipulation around the diet about meat consumption and everything. Right. If you really listen to the resonance of your body, okay, what you ingest will have consequence in terms of what you're ingesting is not just the physical substance, it's also the imprint of that substance.
Right.
Okay. You're also ingesting a paradigm to it, and it creates density. You know, those who have been very awakening and want to be more and more involved with being channeling, you know, healing, guidance, spiritual guidance, teachers. They feel that they have a calling. There's something they feel they have a contribution to make. But first thing, you have to make sure that your physical form is in sync with what your spirit, your soul is telling it to do. So you have to clear your body to be a clearer channel. Right. Can you imagine if I was eating meat? Oh, I would actually lower
your frequency.
My frequency, and I will shut down some point of entry. My team will still talk to me. They will still be there, but I can maybe just hear a tiny whisper once in a while, as opposed to a clear, you know, channel open 24/7. So one thing I realized when I was in my early 20s is right away, one day it dawned on me, like I got a spark of awakening. This is a paradigm I can no longer support and contribute. So I started to change my diet, read the labels, and then I completely cut meat 25 years ago. And I can tell you it has shifted, also consciously accelerated my evolution, clearing my conduit, even as a blended channel. And it has moved me forward tremendously. And of course, the ripple effect I created as a result of this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
This is deeply rooted paradigm that was brought by, not necessarily by humans. You know, it was brought by others.
Right.
That concept of I have to heat your body and your flesh. Ooh. Sorry, as an Arcturian, I'm shivering.
I get it. So it's pretty apparent to you then that if you eat an animal, you're also taking on the blueprint or the imprint of the suffering and the fear that they may have experienced right before they were, you know, killed. Do you believe that?
Of course. Think about it.
Yeah.
Look at your body. Your muscular system record every experience you've ever had.
Right.
For example.
Which is why we do yoga.
That's why we do yoga, right? To reteach, being able to release those imprint.
And traumas out of the muscles.
The muscles. So what do you think the animal is?
Yeah.
You're eating a muscle in the form of a steak.
Suffering. Yeah.
The imprint that muscle or the animal felt is imprinted. And people will say, well, you're going too far with this. Look at the Native American and everything, you know, and the way they used to do it. Yes. But you see how the honor, the respect, there was such a reverence.
Sure.
You know, in regards, today we're gone way too far off. Where it's just mass production and animals like chicken, cows, pigs are regarded and treated like a mass production as if we're producing cars.
Right. It's a really
Am I pushing the envelope?
Yeah, it's a really good analogy because it's true. I mean, they're just pushed through a factory line.
Exactly. So the pendulum effect has gone too far off. What we are doing, we're shocking sometimes by what we're saying to bring it back into a center point.
Right.
You see what we're doing?
Yes.
Because it's too far off.
Yes.
And then from there you can decide. But from that center point, not from out of balance.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
No, my pleasure. I'm very passionate when it comes to animals.
Yeah, me too.
And life, see?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know why they want me to ask this, but we need to talk about this today.
You're guided.
Yeah. So thank you so much. This has been a really wonderful communication and chat. And, I could feel the presence of the Arcturians really strongly here. And it's a beautiful energy. So thank you so much for being here and speaking with me today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for being so receptive and also allowing a very important message to come through.
Yeah.
It's always done with love and respect and also with great passion and great faith in all of you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And where can people find you? Can you share a little bit about the work you do? I know you do healing work and you're a speaker and you do a lot of things. So why don't I let you tell them?
Yes. Thank you so much. We do what's called Arcturian holographic healing. We work with different aspects of you. Arcturians are masters at healing the souls, so we work directly with your holographic template, helping you to evolve, to move through blockages, helping you to be, a clear conduit, to help you transform and to reach your highest potential and beyond. We do lots of consultations with people from everywhere around the planet, whether it's in person or remote. You can read all information. We have a website as well as our tensor reading tools and pendant that my fiance makes, Peter. And our website is called infinitehealingfromthestars.com.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so infinitehealingfromthestars.com. I come with the name because the theme says healing. It's a huge umbrella which is infinite, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. And it says, in this incarnation, where you come from? I said, well, I'm from the stars, and they said that you are.
Right.
Infinite healing from the stars.
Beautiful.
I'm like, why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely put your link down in the description below the video to make it easier for everyone to connect to you. And I've seen Peter's copper pendants, and they're beautiful. So definitely check those out on their website. And I've also had the pleasure of having a session with Viviane, which was also very beautiful. And I could feel everything she was doing, or they were doing. So definitely check out Viviane. And would you like to come back on the show sometime?
Yes, that's a big yes.
I would love to have you again because I feel like there's so many topics we didn't get a chance to cover today.
Absolutely. You're right about it. And the time we have had is perfect.
Yeah.
It's just enough. There's a lot to absorb. There's a lot to process. There's a lot to be able to incorporate and then to integrate.
Yes.
So definitely coming back, that would be fantastic. I would love that.
Okay, awesome.
Yay.
Hey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for your work as well.